Okay, today you're going to make a test whistle, or you're going to start working on it. And so, what we've got today is this is an example. So, this is essentially what you're trying to come up with that will get your model. This is one half of it. There's the ball that will roll around inside. You're going to print this model so it's one complete shape. So, we're going to print this with the ball inside of it. And so, I'm going to show you guys how to do that today. So, you're going to create we're not going to print this, but this is the test whistle that you guys are hearing in class today. So what we're going to do is we're going to print this. We're not going to print this model. We're going to create this model, and then you're going to use these skills to build your whistle. So you're going to create your first, call it Burke, or your first name test whistle. So that's how you're going to create your test whistle. Now, you're not going to create two of these. This is the example. So this is just there as a model for you to look at as we're going through. So the first thing that you guys are going to do is drag a cylinder in, and that's going to be this base part here, the round part. So you're going to make your cylinder 30 millimeters by 30 millimeters. So it's going to be 30 by 30. And you're going to make this 8 millimeters tall. Okay, now, if you look at mine, you'll also notice that mine is super round. So we're going to change the sides of it and make sure that the sides are 64. So we go the maximum for 64 sides. Now, you can, there's some design considerations when you're making your own whistle that we are going to print. And so one of them is, what do you want the kind of the outsides or the edges of your whistle to look like? So now what we have to do is we're going to try to set up for this hole for the center. So we're going to drag either the hole shape in, or I'm just to show you guys how to change it to a hole. We're going to drag in another shape, change it to a hole, make sure that it's got the right sides. And this one is going to be 25 millimeters by 25 millimeters. So we're going to make this 25 by 25. And we want to make this one 6 millimeters tall. And so what we're going to do is this one is going to be 6 millimeters tall. Now, what we are going to do is we're going to group these two shapes together to make it so that it's so that this is going to put the hole in it for this top part. So this opening part is what we're making next. Now, typically what I like to do is get my shape sort of close, then group them together. But just to show you guys how the alignment tool works and how awesome it is, we're just going to align it for you. And a lot of this, if you hear me making reference, I'm using a mouse because it's way easier to do these precise movements with a mouse. So if you guys have one, if you get one, really makes it nice and easy. But like rotating around my work plane, I just hold down the right mouse button and I can move my mouse and rotate around. If I want to pan, I hold the shift button and my right mouse button to move myself, pan the camera left and right. Zoom with the middle scroll wheel going in and out. It really makes your life so much easier. But you also, if you don't have this, it's not a problem. You can totally do all these same things on your keyboard. There's a list of keyboard shortcuts in the Tinkercad resources for you. So we're going to align these. And so what we're going to do is, now your model doesn't have this. Again, that's just my example, show you what we're coming after. So what we're going to do is I like to get kind of the 3/4 of the top, 3/4 view. I'm going to drag both of these around, and we're going to do the alignment tool, or shortcut L, and that's going to start the alignment tool. Right? And so the first one that we're going to do is we're going to move them to the middle of each other. So that's going to center them both left to right. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to center them both front to back, so that this aligns the hole with the shape center. This aligns the hole with the shape front to back. Now, if I was to rotate underneath, you guys would see that the hole is on the bottom. And we don't want to do that because I want to save some time so I don't have to rotate this over. So what I'm going to do is align these two with the top. So what I'm doing now is I'm saying that this hole is going to be at the top, and it's going to go for 6 millimeters. So remember my base shape is 8 millimeters. So that's going to give me a 2 millimeter gap on it of wall. And then the hole is only 25 by 25. My outside is 30 by 30. So I have a nice solid, I'll have a nice solid 5 millimeter thickness wall. So my whistle is going to be pretty solid construction. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, now that they're aligned, don't group them together yet, because we're gonna have a bunch of shapes that are going to kind of go into this. So we're going to make one hole all at once. Just to make it easy, I'm going to slide this over, give myself just a little bit more room to work with. Okay, so this is that opening part. So that's what we're making. So now we're going to make the, I guess you'd call it the arm of the whistle, or what we're going to put our mouth on, and the hole that goes into it. So we're going to drag a box in, And this box that we're going to make is going to be 41 millimeters long. So we're going to make the box 41 millimeters long. We're going to make the box 9 millimeters wide. And we're going to make the box 8 millimeters tall. 8 millimeters tall. Okay. So that's going to be this part here is what we're making right now. So now what you're going to do is you want to get really kind of a top down view, zoom in just a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom this, or we're going to move this over, and you want to move it over so that it's lined up right on top. So it's right in top with your model. And we want to get it as lined up as close to the midpoint as possible to our model. So what I can do is I'm using my camera, I'm panning over a little bit, I'm zooming in to make sure I get it. I can kind of see where the center point is because with my hole, you see how it's radial, it's coming all right to this middle point. So I want to get it right to the middle. And the most important thing is that this is kind of right at the top. So what's really neat with this is, so when we do this, and you can change your snap grid to give you more precise. So by default, it's at 1 millimeter. I've got mine set at 0.25 millimeters. It means every time I move, I'm only moving 1/4 of a millimeter to get some really precise measurements here. So you can totally edit your snap grid however you want to make it so that it works for you. So now when I zoom out, if I kind of rotate around my camera here and I look, what you're looking at is if I look at the top and see how I kind of zoom down there, see how that's a nice, clean, straight edge there? What you don't want is this. And so what I'm going to do is if I pull it up like that and I rotate my camera around, you see how I got that? You'll lose points for that. We don't want that. We want to make it nice and clean. So I'm going to undo that, use the undo button. See how that's so clean. That's nice. That's nice how it's right there. It's going in there. Nice solid model. Nice straight clean line for it. That's what you're looking for. So now what's going to happen, and this goes back to why we didn't cut that hole out. So now if we make, and we're still not going to make the hole just yet, but when we group these shapes together, this is also going to cut out this center part here. So we don't have to make another circle and keep regrouping our shape. So we're kind of getting out. So that part here is what we're making right now. So now what we want to do is we're going to make what we're going to blow the air through, what the air is going to come through. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this box. So Control D, or I'm going to come up here and click on the duplicate. I'm going to slide this over just a little bit just so you guys can see what we're working with here. We're going to change this shape into a hole. We're going to change the width of this to be 1.5 millimeters. So we want to make this 1.5 millimeters. So it's just going to be a nice sliver of a hole. And we want to make the height of it 6 millimeters. So we're going to make the height of this 6 millimeters. Okay. Now, if I was to look at this end on end, one of the things that you notice right away, see everything is on the bottom. So if we'd cut out this hole, it would actually cut out the hole, and it would cut so that the model would have a hole on the outside of it, which is not what we want to do. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to bring this up just a little bit. So we're going to use this black arrow here, and we're going to drag it up. And what you want to do is drag it up 2 millimeters. So you're going to go up 2 millimeters off of your work plane. Okay, so what that's going to do is if you look at this now, see how it's up 2 millimeters? That's going to give us a nice base on the bottom. So we're not going to be cutting out through the bottom of our model. Okay, so now again, I'm going to rotate around, and that's, you guys, a lot of this is moving your camera and working your angles to make sure that you get everything exactly where you want it. What we want to do is we're going to take this hole and we're going to line it up so that it comes right along the top edge here. So it's coming right along the top edge because we're going to cut right out of the top edge there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this in. I'm going to drag this shape over, right? And I've got it. And what you want to do is you want to put it so that it comes right to the top edge, right? And so I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so I can see what's going on. You see how it comes right to the top edge, right there. See how it's coming in, and I got the top edge, and it's just right there. So it comes right at the top wall. So I measured it right to the top wall, so it's going to cut this base out right there. So that's exactly where we want it. We're still not grouping it, right? But if I was to zoom in, I'm going to show you guys here on this model. this is what you're making. See right here? So this is that cutout piece right there is what you guys are, what we are working to achieve in our example here. So this is our example. So this is the piece that we're working on right there. See how it comes right across the top. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna duplicate that box again. So this whole shape here, we're gonna duplicate. So I'm gonna duplicate this. And I'm gonna slide this one out just a little bit. Oh, I didn't want to duplicate that one. I'm sorry, that was not the right one. I'm gonna get back to that hole. I gotta grab that hole shape here. That's the one that I want to duplicate. All right, did I duplicate it? Yes, I did duplicate that shape. So there it is. So there's my duplicated shape that I made, that my hole, right? So we're gonna drag that one out just a little bit. Now what we are going to do is we're going to make this one 3.5 millimeters wide, 3.5 millimeters wide. Okay, so now what we're going to do with this whistle shape here is we are going to rotate this 90 degrees. So you can either drag it or type in 90. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. There it is. Okay, so now what we're going to do with this shape is we're cutting out the center hole piece here. So what we're going to do is we're going to align this shape. We're going to move it over. And we're going to put it right to the edge. There it is. So that's going to cut out. So it's going to cut out right on the edge there. So that's going to cut out our model there so that it's going to cut out right on our edge for us. We're going to rotate that 90 degrees. So now we're going to duplicate this one. So I'm going to switch it up here again. I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull this out off to the side here just a little bit so that you guys can see what we're doing. And what we are going to do is we're going to make this one 4.5 wide. So this one's going to be 4.5 millimeters wide. And then what we want to do is we're going to rotate this one 45 degrees. So it's going to rotate 45 degrees. Okay, now here is where your snap grid comes in super duper duper handy. So what we're going to do is we want to make sure that we're zoomed out just a little bit. Get your camera lined up just right. So you might have to use the shift and your mouse key to pan. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this in. And we want to zoom in so we can line this up right to the edge. And we're going to make sure that this is lined up right to the edge there. So what this is going to do is this is going to create the opening for our whistle here. So we're going to make sure that this comes back just a little bit. Oh, I did a wrong shape. We go back here. Let's get this one. And we're going to make this so that we've got our shape there. All right, so now that we've got all of our shapes, so we've got our hole cut out here, what we're going to do is now we're going to group everything together. So we're going to group all of these shapes together, which is going to give us our cutout. All right, so that's going to be our cutout for the 1/2 of our whistle. All right, so this is, congratulations, guys. You guys just did the hardest part of your whistle, right? So that's what you guys made here. So this is your opening. We're going to blow the air through here. It's going to come out through here. It's going to make a nice sound to it. So now what we want to do is we're going to get that ball, and this is going to get printed right inside here. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a sphere. Actually, we'll make a work plane. So we'll put a work plane. And we want to put our work plane right on inside of this because we're going to put the whistle right into there. So we're going to drag our sphere right into there and kind of put it sort of in the middle. And the sphere needs to be 10 by 10 by 10. So you're going to make a 10 millimeter sphere. 10, 10. Oh, let's get this other one here. and that's going to be 10. Okay, and so that's going to be our sphere. We're going to make this super round, so give it the 24 steps. So that's our super round sphere. Now what we want to do is we want to make this so that it prints solid, and we'll actually put something through to break it off. So once it's inside, so it'll stay in there. But we want it to make sure that it comes through nice and neat. So it's not going to be a perfect sphere. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop this down 1 millimeter. And what that's going to do is make sure that we put it into the model, so it builds into the model. So we're going to go 1 millimeter into the model. There it is, 1 millimeter into the model. Okay, so now that we've got it there, we're just going to move it approximate what you think would be the centerpiece of it. All right, so we got an approximate center. We want to make sure that we get it somewhat close so that we can stick something down through the opening and pry it loose so that it will become loose and roll around in there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to get back to our work plane here. And remember, now you only have the 1/2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this shape that we did here, and we're going to duplicate it. So we're going to do a Control D or click up here to duplicate it. All right, and we're going to move this out of the way here just a little bit. And what we can do is we'll raise this up a little bit here so we've got it raised up and kind of move it out of the way. And then what we're going to do is we want to flip that tool. Okay, so what we can do is we can just rotate the shape, or we can click on this tool here to mirror, and we're going to mirror it vertical, right? And that just flipped it over vertical. So, right, so that what we did is we just flipped it with the mirror. So we did the exact same thing. We flipped it. Otherwise, you can rotate it the 90 degrees. So we've got just that one shape. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this down, and this is where we're going to line these up. And we're going to make sure that these are lined up and that they are touching. And we're going to make sure everything is lined up on it. And what we can do is if we use our alignment tool, right, we can align these two tools here. And we're going to align them middle to middle. Oh, I got my balls in there, so I got to get rid of that real fast. Let me get rid of that. I don't want to do that. So that's part of the problem with this, with the alignment tool. So we don't want to select all of them. We're going to move this down just a little bit. And there it is. And let's see what I got here. 55 by 30, and this one is, there it is. I'm off just a wee bit here. So what we got to do, look at that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we get those lined up. There it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm off just a little bit. So again, this is where you get, and you're using your camera. See, and I got to move this here. So this is good. I'm seeing what my, okay, so this is super important because we're going to make this as one solid piece. So we have to see how I'm keep rotating my camera, and I keep seeing what I need to do. So I'm going to drop this down some more so that the models are touching. Okay, so then I got to move this over some here. Again, you can change your snap grid to whatever you need your snap grid to be. Okay, so that is looking like it's close. I still got just a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to fix that here in just 1 second for you guys. So we're gonna fix that little bit of gap. See how if I rotate it down, see how I can see there's still just a hair, little bit of a gap. So I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit and we'll drop this down. Right there should be 8 millimeters because that's going to put it right on top because our first model was 8 millimeters tall. So this being 8 millimeters off of the work plane would put it right where it needs to be. And let's look around and check to see that our whistle is set. Oh, is it off just a hair here? There it is. Yes. See that? Look at that. That edge is off just a hair. So what we're going to do is move it over. There it is. Oh, just off by a hair. So we're going to move that over just a scooch. Oh, I got it off just a little bit here. There it is. And I think we got her, guys. There it is. That is looking. Let's make sure we get around. I'm going to get my extra out of here. So we're going to get that out of there. Get that out of there. So this is what you guys are looking for. That is a solid looking model. Okay, last thing that you're going to do is we're going to group that all together to make this one solid model. So we're going to group this all together. And there it is, one solid shape. And so what you should see is you should not see any gaps or anything in it. Last thing that we want to do is put our first initial on it so we know that it's our whistle. So we're going to put our, even though we're not printing this, when you do print your final one, you need to have your initial on it. So we're just going to bring in a text box. And we're going to bring in a text box here. We're going to change the text. We're going to put our first initial in here. I'm going to change the font size font of it if I want to. You're going to make this 1 millimeter tall so it sticks out just a little bit, not too much. We're going to put it kind of right in there on the side of our model. Drag our work plane back in to get back to our base work plane. I can drag this in a little bit here. There it is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to group all of this together again. And that is going to be my final whistle. And this is what you are going to export and send to me as an STL file, showing me that you've got your whistle. When you look at it, you shouldn't have, you're going to get graded now as we get closer in this. Shouldn't have any rough edges. You notice if you look at mine all the way around, see how smooth it is, how everything is lined up. My opening is nice and aligned. So you got to spend some time to make sure that you're getting this aligned. You will lose points if you've got these rough edges on it on the outside. So we want our model to be look nice. And that is your whistle. Good luck with it.